John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. My name is Jack Fredericks. I'm your host, alongside my father, the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks, and senior editor for GodzillaWins.com, Nate Perry. We are joined today by contributor Mitch Rogers, who's here to talk some hockey with us, some college basketball, and then some baseball, as well as senior contributor Dan Angel, who will be here with us to do the same. We got an absolutely packed schedule for you today. Talking a little bit of college basketball pretty much for the first hour. We'll throw a little hockey in there as well. Got to have a little hockey in there. Then top of the hour, that'll be 9 o'clock Eastern time, doing some baseball here. We're big baseball fans in the show. Pitchers and catchers starting to report. So why not do a full hour of baseball? Give you a West Virginia baseball update and do some fun things at that hour as well. I'll tell you what to expect. Maybe talk a little bit about how the Mets season has already imploded. Should be a fun 2 hours. Don't go anywhere. Don't change the dial. Going to be a lot of fun here at the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. Gambling helpline time here. Just so you remember, Godzilla Wins and all of its subsidiaries are for entertainment purposes only. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537 in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org in Massachusetts. Call 877-GHOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, or visit opgr.org in Oregon. Okay. Looks like I got everybody here for the show. Waiting on Dan, of course. Dan in Hawaii. Sometimes takes him a minute to get up and get going. We understand that, of course. But we have an absolutely packed show. Glad to see everybody. I'll just go around the horn here. How's everybody doing?
Super. I'll start live at TPAC. They used to call it CPAC. We changed the name to the Trump Political Action Conference because that's really what this is. CPAC now, not to get into politics. But Trump coming to speak today at 1. So we just went through the sweep here. I got back in just in time, and we are ready to go. I just got one thing to say on hockey. I can't win a bet on the Capitals. I bet on them. They lose. I bet against them. They win. Every year I have a team in any sport I just can't win on. I'm never betting on or against the Capitals again for the rest of my life.
Okay, well, we'll get to hockey in a little bit. Glad you're all tuned up about that. What's up with the hat?
Yeah, where are you? Are you outside?
This is my pirate hat, and because it's my pirate hat because we pirated and taken over CPAC, so we're a bunch of pirates here, changing it to TPAC. Where am I? I'm in the Gaylord Hotel in National Harbor, just right across from MGM Grand. Mitch knows where it is.
I got to take the grand tour before it opened. That's an awesome
the People's
hotel.
Republic of Maryland, and Trump's speaking here today at 1 o'clock. So everything had to get swept out earlier. So I just got in the nick of time. Hopefully they're not going to kick me out before 10. But this is my radio and media center here. We have a whole booth and a whole section. So we've been on the air a lot this week at TPAC. So you can kind of see the backdrop here at the Gaylord. So we're rocking and rolling and ready to go.
Never know where you are, so always good to know. It's one thing about the radio show is I have a much better sense of where you are week to week than I ever have before. So it's kind of nice to check in. I'm like, oh, okay, he's there. Always on the go there. Well, look, I want to start with just a little bit of the news of college basketball here. A couple things. I mean, we can throw some NBA in as well. There's just been some interesting things that have happened as far as, I don't know. I mean, I guess you call them maybe like a little bit. Basketball is a tough sport. It's a very physical sport. So a couple days ago, one of the Alabama players in a game against Tennessee dropped a pretty hard elbow after the play was basically blown dead. Really came down hard on the Tennessee player, and the NCAA handed him a 1-game suspension. We also have a fight that broke out in kind of just a random game. No two teams of major importance, but in the handshake line. Then last night, I think it was last night, the Warriors and the Hornets got in a huge brawl on the NBA side of the court, which you never see in the NBA. You might see it a little bit in college or in NFL. MLB, of course, hockey, in those sports, you see some fights, but you don't see a lot of fights in the NBA. So that was interesting. I'll go around to some of y'all about my thoughts just on the Alabama suspension and some of that stuff like that. I've coached basketball now for a couple years, not this year, but I've coached it in the past for a long time at many different levels. And I've coached football as well for a long time. And, one of the things, I mean, both those sports are very physical, very tough, but basketball is an interesting one because of the way that because the arena is indoors, the hardwood, and the way that the noise can compound itself. There is so much adrenaline in basketball in ways that's not necessarily true for football. Obviously, you get to the NFL level, college. I mean, if you've ever been to a college game or an NFL game, the adrenaline there is palpable. But for the most part, the basketball it often doesn't feel like a physical game because everybody's moving so quickly. But it is. It's extremely physical. If you're ever courtside for even an NBA game or a college game or a high school game, these guys are big. They're physical. They're jockeying for position all the time. There are plays where you think, okay, this foul feels like a reaction to something. It's been chippy all night. He throws, some sort of elbow, or he puts his body a little bit too hard into somebody. But it's a whole nother thing when a guy decides to drop his elbow onto a player who's on the floor, and there's no real reason. I mean, the ball wasn't really in play either. It's not like there was a scramble.
He just did it to hurt him.
And,
I mean, there was no.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and so I mean that's kind of my thinking here. It just seemed. I don't know if it's preconceived, but he definitely took the opportunity to drop this elbow. And these guys are really big, so that can be an injury issue. I think one game was a bit light. I probably would have done 3, for something like that. It was pretty blatant. But Nate, we'll get your thoughts here on some of that, or on maybe the handshake line. I know Dad has some thoughts on the handshake line.
I mean, yeah. So just to speak to the elbow a little bit, I mean, I think that, and we've talked about this in different contexts before, and I think that it's worth noting here is that the NCAA didn't do anything. It was the SEC that gave
Oh, right, that's true.
And it's what we've talked about, for forever now. It's like the NCAA is like pretty toothless in being able to enforce rules and being able to create some sort of like, cohesive set of rules. It's just sort of on the conferences to arbitrarily decide. And the problem is that all these conferences have so much money tied up in performance of the conference. Alabama going deep into the tournament, is a huge thing for not just for Alabama getting money, but also for the SEC conference getting money. So, they're obviously not trying to like hamstring Alabama's chances to do that. So they really have no incentive to punish anyone. And this is sort of, been a problem at Alabama for a while, is that Nate Oates seems to know that. They had the Brandon Miller thing. Was that last season?
Last year.
Yeah. With sort of the murder stuff hanging over his head for a large part of the season. They just don't seem to care that much in Alabama. They really don't. And it's clear, and it must be clear to them now that nobody's going to make them care. So like, why not just let your players do whatever they want?
Dad, I mean, I think you might have some thoughts on this issue. I'm sure the elbow seemed pretty deliberate. You've coached basketball for a long time. Also, the handshake line thing, the scrum that ended up in a huge brawl there. I don't know. I mean, I think those two are two different issues. I don't know if you want to start with Alabama, then we'll go maybe to the handshake thing.
I'm with Nate. I mean, Alabama got away with nonsense last year. So then you build a culture of letting that go on with minimal consequences. I mean, the reason you have consequences for actions is to do what? To encourage it not to happen again. And the way Alabama handled the situation with Miller last year was just, I mean, they just didn't do anything. And so, okay, so it's like, now we can do whatever we want. I put this in the hands of the SEC. This was a defensive look. I coached basketball for a long time. Jack, you played for me back in the day. So did your brother, amongst others. And, I coached a physical game. I mean, I coached getting the rebound, chinning out. If somebody's in your way, you knock them down. Offensive fouls. I had no problem at all early in the game to make a statement. So, I mean, I coached a physical game. But this guy was on the ground defenseless. He was a defenseless player, and he just did that. I don't know for what, spite. It hurt him. I mean, the SEC has a responsibility here. If you're going to run the best conference in the country, then you got to be the best conference. They should have kicked this guard for the tournament. Out. You're not in the tournament. You're gone. You want to come back in the NCAA dance? Fine. They should have kicked him out for the entire tournament. One game's a joke, and so basically. And the NCAA didn't do anything, but I think the Southeast Conference had the responsibility to take action here. They're feckless; they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't speak to the motivations of why the elbow was thrown. I guess I mean you get caught up so quickly in the moment in those games when a game is physical for such a long time and you're battling with someone for a long time. You get to the point where you get frustrated, and it is hard to control those emotions. We forget that these players are young. I mean, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. So they're going to make mistakes like that at times. But I think just in general, a one-game suspension, of course, is pretty toothless. And it demonstrates Alabama has a shot at a national title. I mean, they're that good. Right. They score almost 90 points a game. Right. They're incredible to watch. And if this were a lesser team, maybe there would have been more of an expansion. Mitch, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, when you were watching the game, Florida actually got called for a foul on that same play because they didn't even call the foul.
Elbow got called for the foul.
yeah. So it's even more infuriating. Our family's we're Bama fans, so I tend to root for them, but you can like the team and not like the coach. Nate Oates is he shoved the player in January as well. I mean, he's definitely trying to mold this team as like the tough guys of the SEC for better or for worse. And you're right, they are uber talented, but I still play pickup basketball a lot. You can hold back, you know what I mean? Like even a split second before he drops that elbow down on the top of his head, just hold up. I mean, and basketball doesn't play, especially if you're at NBA level after the Malice and the Palace and stuff. If you go to the next level, that stuff doesn't carry any weight when you go to the NBA. I mean, you might get a couple fights here and there, but you get that out of your system now. But Nate Oates fosters it, and I think they're trying to be like the Pistons of the SEC.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine that you want to be the bad boys. You want to be the physical team. I mean, that's their culture. I have I coach that way. No problem with that. But you elbow people when the play is done that had nothing to do with the play. Now, I understand you're getting into it with people. And we always said, basketball is the most physical game if you play it the right way because you have no pads on. You're in shorts. So it's a tough game. But you gotta do the right thing here. And you can't be doing what he did for no reason or just because he was caught up in the moment and just get away with it. I mean, a one-game suspension, can anybody argue that a one-game suspension here in the SEC before the tournament's a joke? I mean, it doesn't mean anything. So basically they're giving the guy
in the big view, like they could have just suspended him for longer just to avoid this whole media scrum. It's not like he plays that much anyways. He averages like 4 points a game.
4 points a game, yeah.
You could just dump him for 5 games and at least make a statement like we're not doing this anymore, without even really penalizing Alabama.
The bad boys identity thing this is not the 1980s. Like that's kind of a stupid thing to be cultivating at this sort of juncture, especially the way they play. Like Virginia is known as the greatest, defensive team, really in the country. They have been for a long time, and they're not like throwing punches. I mean, they play a very disciplined defense. They guard on the 3-point line. They rebound well. Alabama sucks on defense. Like, they're horrible. I mean, it's not even part of their identity. Like, they're run and gun. They rely on teams missing shots so that they can run down the floor and score in 15 seconds. They shoot a 50% of their field goals are from the 3-point line. I mean, they play offensive basketball. Now, that's not to say you can't be physical in playing offensive basketball. They're one of the biggest teams, I think, in the country. They're like in the top, 20 in length or something. So they're very big, but they don't really play defense. So it's sort of a weird identity to cultivate when you can just be like, hey, we can be like the finesse team. Like, we don't have to be ultra physical. We don't have to have this chip on our shoulder. Like, we're a perennial favorite. We score 90 points a game. Just get the rebound, throw it down the court, hit a three, and then celebrate. So I don't know. I mean, this is definitely a Nate Oates thing. I don't really.
What's ironic with the penalty is the NCAA doesn't make the ruling, but they use the NCAA's rule of an automatic 1-game suspension if you're involved in a fight. Now, that wasn't technically a fight, but it's funny that they still use NCAA's rulings, even though NCAA keeps their mouth shut.
Yeah, as they always do. Now, Dad, one of the reasons you don't get in fights on the court is because of Healthy Cell and your ability to get that deep REM sleep. Tell us a little bit about Healthy Cell and how our listeners can get involved with REM sleep.
Well, I'll just give you an example, right? So it's been a very hectic couple of days for us. We got the bus here down to the convention center. I mean, we're working 18 hours a day. I was on the air yesterday. We were on 6 to 10. Then I'm on, I think, noon to 2. Then I had a taping of one of the Congress people I was trying to get. Kate Kamek, who handles the FCC, did her 3. Then we had a dinner at 7:30. So, look, I mean, it's a long day. I went to bed last night at 10. I took my REM sleep, got up at 7. I get the best 9 hours of sleep because of REM sleep. I don't have to be tossing, turning, getting up 8 times a night. Take that REM sleep from Healthy Cell. I'm dreaming all night. I jump out of bed today. I know Godzilla Wins is coming. I love working with you guys. I just jump out of bed, and it is a life changer for me. Now, Joe takes it. I got to have his baseball team on REM sleep because it's all natural, and you are just going to feel better. Look, you get a little bit older, man. Sleep, it's underrated. It's the most important thing you can get, especially when you're getting 5-6 hours a day like me. So just go to healthycell.com/Godzilla. Got to get promo code Godzilla. Get 20% off Healthy Cell. Get the REM sleep because I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. You're going to feel so much better. The other thing that your brother taught me is why West Virginia monitors the sleep of their players. They have a chart up every day of who was on top, who was on the bottom, because they say that sleep is regenerative. Like all your muscles, you pitch or whatever, the old tour, you need to sleep to repair them. Joe's always at the top, wins that every single week. He's at the top of the list. So healthycell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla, 20% off. Do yourself a favor. Starman knows.
That's right. You're listening to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. Hey, listen, we're taking calls today. So you want to call in, give us your thoughts on anything sports related here. 888-480-5646. That's 888-480-5646. Love to have you on. Talk about pretty much anything that's on your mind sports related. So 888-480-5646. Talk to Mike and he'll put you through to us. You are listening to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show here. Nate, Mitch, my father. We're going to talk a little hockey now. I know Dad teased that for a minute, but we'll start here with Mitch, who follows the Penguins, one of our beat writers here. He's going to be writing about the Penguins most of the rest of the season here. Mitch, just tell us a little bit about the Pens this year and any hockey picks you got for the weekend. Then we'll go to
I'll jump on I gotta do my hockey review for the weekend to do my picks. But yeah, the Penguins and John brought up the Caps. The Caps and the Penguins seem like they're mirror images of each other right now. They're in that 9th, 10th, 11th playoff spot, trying to see what they should do for the trade deadline. Both general managers and the general manager Kyle Dubas for the Penguins is, giving them a little bit of leeway based off of their pedigree, based off of having Crosby and Malkin, Letang and the likes. But the big thing is if they're going to trade Jake Gensel. So Jake Gensel is a piece of the puzzle that if they trade, they could possibly get a couple first round picks for. They could set up this quote unquote. They're not trying to do a rebuild. They're going to try to win with Crosby, but they're going to have to get younger everywhere else and let the old guys mentor them. So do you do that now? They've struggled out of the All-Star break. He gave them an ultimatum. They have failed on that ultimatum. So I think they're going to be sellers here in a couple days. And similarly, in around these parts, it's Crosby. But when you talk Crosby, you talk Ovechkin, and the Caps have a similar thing going on right now. They're desperately trying to get Ovechkin that scoring record. I mean, he had 8 goals the entire year, and in the last 2 weeks, he had 8 goals in 8 games. So they've like kind of almost scrapped the winning philosophy to try to get him the gold title, but they've won in the process, so they're kind of in the mix. So I think right now the major news in hockey all the way around is trade. It's around the trade deadline. What are people going to do, especially people that are floating around that last wild card spot? But it's exciting. Once football ends, it's funny to go full throttle into basketball and hockey, and so that's where I'm at now, and it's exciting to write some articles. And I'm about to do my picks right when we get done with the show here, and I'll make sure to post them up.
Absolutely.
Picks.
Now.
Put them on Daily Picks. I'm going to stay on you guys starting today to get these up on Daily Picks.
I did them this week.
Go to GodzillaWins.com. That is one of the hottest things we have. You got to go to Daily Picks, and if you're going to make picks, then put it on Daily Picks. Put your units in there so we can track what you do, win or lose, and it takes a minute. And so starting March 1st, I'm going to be on you guys to go on a Daily Pick. I don't want to see I don't want to see a pick on the site without going to Daily Picks, which takes you 90 seconds max.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. This is not a company-wide meeting. A lot of the I don't know how often you're on Daily Picks. I hope it's every day. But like a lot of the writers put their picks
on every day.
So,
but sometimes they're not on, and it pisses me off. And look, this is how I run my radio company. All the decisions we make are right on the air because who's got time for conference calls? If you guys want us to set a conference call every week, there will be a riot in this company if I tried to do that. You guys want to go on a conference call?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I seem to remember about a month where you just went totally incognito as far as picks go.
Yeah, that's because I was in New Hampshire and Iowa, and it was minus.
All right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, we're all busy then. We're all busy. Okay,
nice
so
hat, Jack.
Tell us a little bit. Yeah, thanks. Tell us a little bit about your hockey picks, Dad. I know the Caps are
okay. Well, I tell you what, the Caps piss me off. Like I always get a team. I don't know. Mitch, you might be the same. I know this might be like Nate. Doesn't matter what the sport is. I get one team during the season where you go like 0 for 100. You just can't win a bet. You bet on them, they lose. You bet against them, they win. You get pissed off when they lose. Then you bet against them, they win again. That's me, the Capitals. The Capitals are playing today. If I were to bet this game, right, I'm going to lose.
It's the Panthers. They're not winning.
They're playing the Panthers in Florida. They won 4 in a row. Three, all on the road. If I bet them today, they get blown out. If I bet the Panthers minus 225, I'm going to tank it. So I'm not going to touch the Caps. I'm done with them. I don't want anything to do with them. Now, here's who I like today. I got 4 games. I'm kind of fired up about hockey today. I like the Islanders at home. This is basically pick 'em. Islanders are playing a little bit better. There's something wrong with this Lightning team, guys. I mean, they lost 3 in a row at home. They're getting blown out. Capitals beat them the other day. They got beat 9-2 by somebody the 2 nights before.
Yeah.
The coach had him practicing on off days for like 4 hours. He's pissed. Then they go out again and they lay an egg against Washington. There's something wrong with this Tampa team. So I'm going to go with New Jersey at home. That's number 1. Second game I like. Give me the Rangers minus 135 going to Philadelphia. This is, how these games are, right? You guys that follow hockey. I mean, I just got into it, but you read the history. I mean, the Rangers, Flyers, if fights break out, these teams hate each other, right? It's in Philadelphia. People going crazy. The Rangers are just a better hockey team.
They're good this year, yeah.
They're just speed, defense. I like everything about the Rangers. I think it's going to be Rangers or Winnipeg are my 2 teams to win the Cup. So I'm going with the Rangers minus 135. I like Vegas at home minus 110. Vegas is tough at home, guys. So I like betting. Vegas. I'm sorry. I like Vegas on the road. I'm sorry, over Ottawa because Ottawa just sucks, right? So I think Vegas goes in there. They win that game. Vegas is plus 110, and then late game. I like the Kings minus a goal and a half. Anaheim is horrible. I mean, this is basically a bottom feeder NHL team. This is kind of like back in the day, betting against Pittsburgh when they'd lose 110 games. They're just horrible. So I'm going to lay. I don't like to lay a goal and a half. Normally I bet the money line, but I'm not going to lay 270 obviously here. So I'm going with the Kings minus a goal and a half. Those are my 4 hockey picks today, and I got to get back in a win column. I got to go 4-0. I bet all 4 games plus a bet a parlay, which I never bet either. That's how confident I am.
And you know what? Like
Sure
if you've been struggling without football around, tonight's NHL matchups are awesome. I mean, the Bruins and the Canucks and the Stars and the Hurricanes. I mean, that's about as marquee as it gets. That's a good job scheduling by them and ESPN and such.
Make sure you go to dailypicks.com. You'll see all John's picks up there on the.
They better be up already.
They
better be there.
That's
now.
right.
I just got up an hour ago. I can't put them up.
Takes a minute. Takes a minute, guys. Takes a minute.
Dan,
Dan,
have won 7 straight against the Ducks, so that's probably a really solid pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan. We want to welcome you.
Hey,
in.
Dan.
I'm glad to see you.
Hi, Dan.
So we're talking NHL. I know you got some NHL picks. If you want to give us your picks for NHL before we move to college basketball.
Right. So, yeah, actually, this seems like a homer pick, but I'm actually going to take a shot with Ottawa today because the Senators have been playing really good hockey the last couple weeks, and the top teams, with the exception of the Rangers, have been really struggling. So Vegas coming to Ottawa for this game, I think this could be a trap, and I think the Senators minus 118 holds some real value. And then I've got a piece that will be popping up on Godzilla Wins after we get done here on Rangers Flyers. And I got to take the Rangers here. I mean, Philadelphia has lost 9 straight against New York. And no, scratch that. The Rangers have won 9 straight. Philadelphia has lost 5 straight against New York and 8 of 9. And Travis Konechny got injured at practice. Saw him yesterday. He's day-to-day. And if he's not on the ice, Philadelphia's offense takes a big hit, especially against Igor Shesterkin. So I got to go with the Rangers here, and I think Panarin over 0.5 points makes a lot of sense. You're probably going to have to pay some juice on it, but I mean, he scored 10 points in his past 4 games. 9 of those have been assists. So I think the goals will come eventually. He just hasn't been shooting very much, but he's going to score either way. So just take the points.
All right. So bunch of hockey there. Now, we got a bunch of hockey picks up on the website coming. So if you like hockey, go to GodzillaWins.com and you will find all of your hockey picks up on the site, as well as college basketball, which we're about to talk about here, heading into March Madness, getting really close. So we're going to be doing that here pretty soon, talking March Madness. Before we do that, though, we're talking a little bit about Beard Vet Coffee. One of the ways that I stay awake all morning is Beard Vet Coffee there. Now you go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla. You get 10% off all of your coffee needs, whether you like the K-Cups, the whole beans, the ground coffee. You can get pretty much anything you need. They got all sorts of different flavors there. Really big fan of Beard Vet. Got up this morning, was feeling a little lagging. I mean, we all work all week long, so sometimes the Saturday mornings can be a little tough, even though I'm on Central Time, so I'm complaining for nothing. We got some people on Pacific Time or Island Time, as Dan's in there. If I was Dan, I'd probably just be on creatine. I'm not even sure I'd take the coffee there. I think I'd probably just go straight to the creatine and see how that works. But unfortunately, Beard Vet doesn't sell creatine, but what they do sell is excellent coffee. And we love their partnership. They've been with us for a very long time. So you go to beardvet.com, put in the promo code Godzilla, 10% off your coffee needs. Look, you order that stuff, it's going to show up at your doorstep in 3 days, and you will not be disappointed. Shout out to Sean and Kenny, who are excellent supporters of GodzillaWins.com and a great social media follow as well. So beardvet.com, promo code Godzilla. If you support the show, go ahead and buy some of their amazing products.
Jack, I just got to interject here on Beard Vet. Hey, Waddy, come here.
Yes, sir.
Tell everybody on screen. We have Beard Vet out here at CPAC. Is this thing the biggest hit?
The biggest hit.
Are people drinking it now?
They're
You
drinking
guys
up.
love your Beard Vet coffee? What do you guys think? Beard Vet? We got this is the thing. We always have coffee here. We're the only ones. We have the big mega pot. Waddy, hey, Waddy, great coffee. Say hi.
Mega pot or maga pot?
How you doing, audience?
Mega pot. We got a mega pot of coffee here.
Oh, no.
You like your Beard Vet?
Too easy.
What do you
Come
think?
on. Too
They're
easy.
loving it, man.
They're
They're loving
bouncing
it.
off the wall. They
Mega
love
pot
it.
of coffee. Waddy, former Navy, right? You make the best coffee ever. Baby.
Thank you. Thank
Best
you. I
coffee. Got the big pots going. Everybody's here. Go to beardvet.com. Promo code Godzilla, 10% off. And you too can have it out of our mega pot.
Mega pot.
That's
Mega
right.
mega pot.
Yeah,
There's-
888-480-5646. If you want to call in, 888-480-5646. That's 888-480-5646. Call in, give us your thoughts on sports. Don't be shy. Call in. We keep it pretty loose here on the show. We're not worried about much. You can derail us. We derail each other all the time. So we don't really keep to the run sheet that well. We'd love to have your thoughts and give us a call, 888-480-5646. All right, we're gonna move on to some college hoops picks here. I just threw on a couple games that we can talk about, and if we have some more, we can slip them in as well. But this is a stacked slate of games. Saturday is an excellent time for college basketball. Pretty much every Saturday. We're in February, so we're getting real close to the tournament here. A lot of these teams playing for a spot or playing for that division title, playing for a better tournament seating in their conference. I mean, who knows? So a lot of different motivations here. We're going to start with the South Carolina Gamecocks, ranked team, traveling to, I think they're 20th right now, traveling to Ole Miss, to Oxford, to play the Ole Miss Rebels. Story of two teams. South Carolina has been very successful this year. Ole Miss has been successful early on and has struggled as of late as they've gotten into conference play here. Now, I don't have the spread up, which is my fault. I thought I did. I think it's Ole Miss minus 3.5 off the top of my brain.
2.5
I
now.
think that's 2.5 now. Okay, so that's the thing with college basketball. It moves all the time, which I was a little surprised to see Ole Miss as the favorite, although they do play better at home. So, Dan, we'll start with you here because you wrote up the Ole Miss game, the Egg Bowl, the basketball version of the Egg Bowl on Wednesday, and Ole Miss lost that game. So tell us your thoughts on South Carolina, Ole Miss. We'll go around the horn, get our picks, and move on to the next game.
Yeah, so I think this is a situation where South Carolina looks good on paper, but this is why college basketball metrics exist. I mean, the Gamecocks are really not anywhere near as good as their record suggests. And if we were looking solely at metrics, South Carolina probably wouldn't even be that close to the bubble right now, let alone solidly in the field. So I think Ole Miss does most things well on offense compared to what this Gamecock team does defensively. The Rebels shoot the three very well. South Carolina, not that strong defending the three. And I think Ole Miss does get a win that, fortunately for them, will be a quad 1 win, even though it probably should count as a quad 2.
Yeah, and Ole Miss needs that because right now they're playing for like kind of that first four in. That's where they're at. They can't afford too many more losses. The loss to Mississippi State was a tough one. I think they've lost 2 out of 3 now. Nate, we'll go over to you. I'm seeing 3.5 on DraftKings, so it's moving around.
Right.
Over under 137.5. What do you think, Nate?
I agree with Dan. I like Ole Miss too. I like Ole Miss. This is just a huge game for them, just because they have struggled a little bit, and I think the line might be a little bit inflated because South Carolina looked pretty good for quite a while through most of January and early part of February before they just got demolished by Auburn. But I still think that there are some people that think that South Carolina is probably better than they are. So I'm inclined to agree with Dan. I think that Ole Miss gets a really big win here. Try and keep their tournament hopes alive.
Nate and Dan both in agreement. Mitch, are you the dissenter or?
No, I'm gonna go with Ole Miss as well. And they've already mentioned most of the other stats you're gonna look at. Ole Miss is also 14-1 at home this year, and I'm with you. South Carolina probably a little regression in that SEC conference record will start probably getting a little more towards the 500 mark by the time tournament time starts. So I'm with you here. I think Ole Miss bounces back and they cover the 3.5.
3 for covering that 3.5. Dad, you like the Rebels?
But I'm not going to bet a lot, right? This is like one of the lowest bets I'm going to make, only because it's a good game and I want to be part of it. But they come into this matchup, they lost three of 4. They're 6-7 in the conference. South Carolina is 9-4 in the conference. I mean, Ole Miss is just not playing good basketball. They should win this game. And I tell you the other thing, just because the team's on the bubble, I'm almost talking myself out of the bet as I go through this. Just because the team is on the bubble, say, oh, they're on the bubble, they have to win. Well, there's like 100 teams today that have to win that are on the bubble. So that doesn't mean anything to me. If they're at home, I like Ole Miss. I'm not going to bet South Carolina, but I don't like them that much. Look, guys, you don't win a lot of money betting on teams that are losing, thinking that all of a sudden they're going to turn around and win. And that's really what you got here with the Rebels. What?
Unless you're talking about Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. But it's tough to bet a team that they're just not playing good basketball. And they should be better. And they started the season hot, but they're just not playing good basketball. And hopefully they can turn this thing around.
Well, the SEC is a tough conference. I mean, it's not that they're playing horrible basketball. They got a lot of wins. And South Carolina's record looks a little inflated. They shouldn't be ranked, whatever. I like Ole Miss here too, just because it's a short spread, 3.5. Anything can happen in that 3.5, but I think Ole Miss probably wins this game by 5 or 6. They're good at home and they struggle on the road, and South Carolina's coming off a tough loss as well. So neither team is playing well. It's not like South Carolina's playing that well either. So I'm gonna take Ole Miss as well. That's that minus 3.5. Okay, let's move on then to Texas at Kansas. Now this game is interesting because Texas is not the team they were last year when they made it to the Elite Eight. But this is, they often have Kansas's number. I think they're 2-0 against Kansas this year, or stretching back to last year. The biggest issue is, though, they haven't beat Kansas at home. Nobody beats the Jayhawks at home. They're like 13-0 this year at home. So the spread is minus 8.5. Kansas, of course, playing amazing basketball. They always play well at home. Over-under is 144.5. So could be a slower paced game. Dan, we'll start with you here. I don't know. Just as someone looking at this game, Dan, I want to take Kansas, but I get nervous at a spread that big in a game like this. But I don't know. Maybe Kansas just blows the doors off.
I mean, you already said it's Texas at Kansas. That's pretty much all that you need to know here. In anyone, I mean, if Connecticut couldn't figure out the at Kansas part of this equation, then nobody's going into Lawrence and beating the Jayhawks. Now, Kansas probably isn't going to last long in March because they don't get to play at Allen Fieldhouse in the tournament, but there's nobody who's saw them beating the Jayhawks in Lawrence, and this spread does not scare me. Kansas should cover this one.
Dan, not afraid of the spread. Nate, you're never afraid of a spread.
Yeah, but I'm afraid of a spread on this one, I think. I don't, Kansas or Texas sort of had Kansas number the last couple of games. You talked about that, obviously. But Kansas doesn't lose at home, and that's real too. I mean, they beat UConn this year at home. They beat Houston this year at home. They beat Baylor this year at home. So they've beat some big boy teams. But I just sort of have some pause, mostly just because I hate Bill Self, and I hate Kansas, and I can't bet them. I think this game probably goes over. Texas, when they've played some of their tougher opponents, have sort of quickened the pace, and those games have gotten relatively high scoring. I think that'll probably be the case against Kansas. So I like the over, but I'm not going to pick a side.
Over's not a bad play at 144.5. I mean, you can get there pretty quickly. It's not like it's 170. Mitch, What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to roll into the against the spread factors here. Yeah, I agree. Kansas is going to walk away with the win, but they're not going to cover the spread. They're 2-3 against the spread in their last 5 games, and 2-2 against the spread in their last 4 home games. And this is the Big 12. Texas needs this win. It's going to get ugly. I think the under comes in here, and Texas muddles it up and covers with Kansas winning, but covers the spread.
All right, see, this is why I wanted to put this game on the board here. We got a lot of different opinions on this. Dad, round us out, and then I'll close this out and move on to the next one.
So this is one of those games where Kansas is not going to lose, right? So you can't beat them at home. So now it's a matter of how many are they going to win by, right? Texas shoots a lot of threes. If they're hot, maybe they cover. If they're not, they get blown out. I never bet a team, I've told you this before, that I don't think will win the game. So I don't think Texas is going to win. So I'm going to lay the 8.5. You know, maybe somebody hits a 3 at the end for Texas and it's 5 and you lose and, you know, you feel like crap. But Kansas is going to win this game. And when it's a matter of points, I lay them. That's just my philosophy. It's always been. It's not going to change. So Kansas minus 8.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the Kansas minus 8.5 too. I mean, there's not a lot of value on the money line at minus 410. I put that in the daily picks, by the way. I was like, well, let me just minus 410 on the money line. I mean, I might as well just take that because I know they're going to win. But there's no value there. Like minus 410 is just ridiculous. So take them 8.5 spread. I mean, I think Kansas is really rolling. They're really good at home. Texas just isn't as good as them, and this could be a simple equation. I overthought a lot of my picks on last week, and I really struggled. I mean, like I was really trying to be cute with a lot of picks, and it hurt me. And I was in a state where I could take advantage of DraftKings, so I hurt my wallet as well, and I had to try to make that up with UFC at the end of the night, and I didn't. By the way, okay, so shout out to DraftKings. I was in Scottsdale, and they have a brick and mortar sports book there. FanDuel has one as well. I don't know. Like, I don't live in a state where I live in a casino state, like a state where there are a rich history of casinos. So we don't have mobile gaming, but we also wouldn't have like just a brick and mortar like sports book because the casinos would not really allow that. They're too powerful in Mississippi to just like allow like a FanDuel to pop up in Jackson. But I don't know if you guys have ever been to these. So the way it was sort of lined up is you walk in. This is in Scottsdale in Arizona. You walk in, and on the right hand side is like the bar, and it's like family area, food, whatever. There's a patio. There's like games and stuff. So the whole little thing, and then you go to the left, and there's security, and there's the sports book. So you can go into the left, and you can, of course, make picks on your phone. But they also have all these kiosks along the wall, so you don't have to go on your phone. You just take out the cash and put it in and get your ticket, and you just keep doing that. And of course, with DraftKings, you get all the live stuff, which can be really fun. They had tons of TVs. It was really fun. It was the college. I mean, like in the afternoon, it was kind of dead, but when the UFC started at night, man, it was live. Tons of people there. It was a lot of fun. More fun than I've had in a sports book in a long time. Sports books can be sort of weird places in casinos if you've ever been to one. Sometimes it's full of guys watching like the closed circuit TV horse track stuff, which is like nothing wrong with that. Like I love the horses, but it's a different vibe. And then of course, in those casinos you can smoke, and so there's all that. It was much cleaner. It felt like the future of sports books. So just shout out to DraftKings. I'm sure they're really happy with that as well. It was cool. I mean, I was walking to Trader Joe's, and I just walked past it. I never made it to Trader Joe's. Like I was like, I'll go to Trader Joe's and I'll get like a sandwich. And as soon as I saw the sports book, I just took a left, and I never made it to Trader Joe's. I just was in the sports book, and then I went back to the hotel. So a lot of fun there. Shout out to DraftKings. Okay, let's move on to the next game here. UNC at Virginia, maybe another slugfest as well. This is going to be a low total game. I've talked for a while, Dan, so go ahead and tell us your thoughts on this ACC rivalry with two teams that really need a win, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think Virginia needs it a lot worse than North Carolina does. I mean, Carolina is struggling right now, but I mean, the Heels are still safely in the field, whereas UVA is really on that line where if they take one loss too many, they might be on the wrong side of the bubble. So I really like a slow-paced game here. I think that this is going to struggle to get above 130 points. So, yeah, I think 130 and a half is probably right around where it needs to be. So I might tease the number upward a little bit, but UVA plus the 3.5 looks really good to me. I think Virginia is a much different team at home, and I just don't trust Carolina right now, especially having to play the Cavaliers game. So I'm taking the free basket with the Cavs.
Yeah, Mitch, Virginia is really tough at home, just like Kansas. You want to play the spread?
Yeah, I want to go. I like the under in this game. I've seen too many games at UVA. UVA's coming off their loss to Virginia Tech, and that's a big deal to them. You know, it's not as big a deal nationally, but they're gonna play tough. But UNC is trying to go for the ACC title as well. I think UNC bounces back. I think they win the game. But I think this under comes in. I think this is a slugfest, and it's going to be under the 130 and a half.
Dad, you want to take the spread, or you like? I mean, I like the under too. It's just Virginia, but I know you like to play the spread.
I don't do over under on games like this because I just don't. Virginia this, Virginia that. This team is like watching paint dry. Okay, I can't. It's the most boring games in history. It's not the way I like to play basketball. 18 passes on offense. You know. Defense, their defense is great. Tony Bennett, blah blah blah. I know that. Hey, newsflash, Cavs, you're playing a really good team today. I don't care if you're home. I don't care if you're playing in a tournament. I don't care if you're playing in Vegas. Okay, North Carolina is a really good basketball team. Your party's over. You're not that good. You're going to get. I don't even think this game is going to be close. I love North Carolina today. This is my best bet in college basketball.
Best bet in college basketball, likes the Tar Heels. Okay, a lot of confidence there. I like the under. I don't see any reason to just not take that. I mean, 130, like that's like those Houston spreads that are really low. I mean, and the other thing, Dan, and then we'll get to the next game, is Virginia scored like 46 points in their last game. So, and they got blown out. So, I mean, they play great defense in Virginia, but they're not shooting at all. And statistically, if you were just like, well, they're going to regress back to the mean and they're going to start scoring a little bit more, so the game should be closer, fine. But I mean, if they're going to score 45 points a game, I'm just going to take the under. Because how can you get close to 130?
If they score 45 points in this game, North Carolina is going to score 42.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at.
But you guys at the under in a basketball game, so you're watching a game.
Yeah, it's
so
not
what
fun.
are you rooting for?
John, I'll get to that. If we still get the sleeper segment, I'll get to that because I have a under that I really like, and it can be a thing of beauty.
Right.
But just throwing this out there, North Carolina has lost 8 in a row in Charlottesville.
Yeah, I mean they struggle in Charlottesville, and Dad, I just get tired of this shtick. Like, it's so boring. It's not boring. People like to do it. Like,
North Texas.
I just want to know when the game starts. If you're betting the under, like the game starts and the ball is in, there's a tip. So North Carolina gets the ball or Virginia. So what are you rooting for? Like a
defense, baby. Defense.
I mean,
Defense.
What the hell are you rooting for?
Good
So somebody makes a 3 on either team. You're pissed. I mean, I just don't get the entertainment purpose of betting an under.
Your kid goes to Press Virginia University. He literally goes to Press Virginia University.
Like watching a good defensive coach like a Tony Bennett or a Micah Shrewsbury, watching their team in action when they've really got it going, like it's a nuanced thing, but it can really be a nice thing to work. Like double the offense, half the defense.
No way.
That's my
90s NBA over current NBA. I'm with it. I like the D.
Right.
I
mean,
like the D.
There's just it's just about pace of play. It's just a numbers game. Yeah. If a team doesn't score quickly, then the under is always a good bet. But hey, if you like offense, Dad, I got a game for you. Yeah. Alabama traveling to Lexington to play Kentucky. Alabama's is number 1 in scoring offense. Kentucky's number 3. Both these teams score a lot. Alabama is a 3-point dog because it's in Kentucky. Kentucky's a different team away from Lexington. Over under 175. So we go from 130 to 175, Dan. We'll start with you. I mean, I'll just tell you me right now. I'm going to take the over just for fun. I don't know if they can get to 176, but I sure hope so.
Yeah, Alabama versus Kentucky is sponsored by Beard Vet Coffee, I think. So, yeah, I mean, Alabama is the second most efficient offense in the nation. Kentucky leads the nation in 3-point percentage. I mean, neither of these teams can stop each other. And I'm going to lean toward the Wildcats for two reasons here. One, because the game's in Lexington, UK has been a tougher team at home. And two, Alabama's biggest weakness is the Crimson Tide are very sloppy with the basketball, and Kentucky really excels at forcing turnovers and cashing them in. So in a game this fast-paced, Kentucky's ball handling ability and ability to create turnovers is going to come up big. I like the Wildcats.
Nate, do you want to take a side here?
Yeah, I like the Wildcats too. I mean, Kentucky's sort of a maddening team from a betting perspective because they look awesome one game and then they just look like just total junk the next.
Yeah, for real.
But I still kind of like them against Alabama here. A lot of it has to do with what Dan said. Alabama turns the ball over a decent amount, even though the offense can be electric. They still do suffer turnovers. Kentucky plays pretty solid defense, and they should be able to hang with the scoring. So I like Kentucky here too, to be honest with you. So,
Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to favor the home team here too. Kentucky's coming off that heartbreaking loss too to LSU, so I think this is a bounce back game for them. But this is the over is going to be fun in this one. But I'm going to take Kentucky with the spread. I won't touch that over under. But I'll be watching this game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fast paced.
Dad, here's your offense.
The purpose of basketball is to outscore the other team. I mean, it is simple as that. You got to get more points than they do. And if I'm getting points 2 out of 3 possessions, I'm going to win the game. So look, I love watching Alabama. I don't like the culture what they did, but they're gonna run and gun and they're gonna score points, and they turn this into a very exciting game. A lot of teams are not going to come up with them. They're going to be very tough in the tournament because they put the ball in the basket and they run. I love Alabama in this game. Look, we can say whatever we dissed them at the beginning about the culture they've got there. I think the guy should have been suspended for 5 games. Having said that, Alabama's a better basketball team. I'm gonna go with the Tide. Score, baby, score.
Yeah, over 175, I'll take that. I mean, I think they can get to 176. Alabama can hang 90 on anybody, and Kentucky's going to hang with them. So I think we might see a really high scoring game, and I'm just going to take the over. So last game here on the schedule, then we'll let Dan do some of his sleeper picks as well. We'll run through this one pretty quick. Houston at Baylor, big game for the Cougars. Nate, I'm going to start with you because you are our resident Houston Cougar fan here with your big old futures ticket. Houston's minus 2.5, over under 135. Houston is also a team that defensively is just really tough, but they got to travel to Waco to play Baylor. The Bears have been really good at home as well. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, well, these are like two opposite teams, right? Like if basketball is about matchups or good fights are about matchups, this one's a fun matchup. Houston has the best defense in the country. They've been just grinding all season. They make every game ugly. They've really slowed down, opposing offenses. And then there's Baylor, who plays basically no defense, and they have the 4th best offensive efficiency in the league. So, that's pretty different. My sense is that Houston's pretty much gotten people to play their style of basketball for this most recent winning stretch they've had the last 4 games or so. So I think that Houston probably does the same here. Yeah, this is a tricky spot. I wouldn't bet a ton on this, but I can't go against Houston now. So
Houston minus 2.5. Dan, what do you think?
I mean, I got to push back here a little bit on something Nate said. Baylor does play some defense. I mean, last time out they held Oklahoma to 60. Last time out in Waco they held Oklahoma to 62. They held Cincinnati to 59. So Baylor can grind. And I think the under is likely to play here. I think Houston will make this ugly, and I don't think Baylor's going to hesitate playing that way.
Mitch, you like the Cougars?
This is when the Big 12 gets really fun, and I agree with Nate here. There's something about Houston getting people to play their style of basketball, and if they win the turnover battle, they don't lose. I mean, they're 20-2 if the turnover differential goes into their favor, and I think it will here. Houston's a tough team. I'm going to take Houston, even if it's on the road. And this Big 12, and Houston just took first place, and they're actually going to hold on to it for a week. We'll see if it lasts going into the tournament. But yeah, I'll give it Houston.
We're putting John to sleep with our talk of Houston.
Yeah, it seems so. But I mean, I don't know. He's always been a Cougars fan. So, Dad, what do you think?
Cougars. This is when they get going, right? I mean, a lot of people have picked them to win this whole thing. They play really good on both sides of the ball. They're a very disciplined team. They're very well coached. And, everybody looks at the Kansas game, right? We just talked about Kansas. Right? They went to Kansas, Big 12. They just got into Big 12. They got blown off the court, right? Oh, it was what, 3 weeks ago. We all remember that. I get it. But the team is evolving every single week. I think they're going to be very tough in the tournament. Baylor's not that good. I like Houston today, minus the 2.5. And the famous words of my favorite coach in all of history, Paul Westhead.
Knew that was coming.
Offense has the advantage because my offensive player knows what they're going to do with the ball, and the defensive guy doesn't. So just give me the ball, and let me put it in the basket. That's kind of the Cougars' philosophy. In some ways, I like them today over Baylor. But look, a lot of these teams going in the Big 12, I mean, it's Big 12 basketball, right? You're not playing at whatever they played in AAC or something against teams like Cincinnati. This is a tougher conference. Yeah, I mean they're in the Big 12 now, but it's different. We're going to see it in baseball this season. In fact, Brigham Young University opens their Big 12 season in Morgantown, so it's going to be interesting. So it's a different conference. It's a tougher conference, and I think it's a different style of play that the Cougars got just shocked when they went to Kansas. Like, it was like, holy God, this team's good.
Well, look, yeah, Kansas and Allen's great. So we got about 4 minutes till we go to commercial here. Dan, I know you got some sleeper picks, so rattle off a couple for us, then we'll break for the top of the hour.
Yes, I do. So first one is going to be someone that most people probably don't even know is a Division I school, Lemoyne, which is a new Division I school out of Syracuse, minus 2.5 against Fairleigh Dickinson. Lemoyne easily won this game the first time out. They're pretty decent at shooting the three, and Fairleigh Dickinson can't stop a nosebleed from behind the arc. So
how do you spell that?
Lemoyne is L-E capital M-O-Y-N-E. So
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Mitch is already
I got
on
them
it.
at minus 2.5 last night. It's already up to minus 3, but Fairleigh Dickinson can't stop anyone on the arc, so Lemoyne should shoot their way to a win here. I'm going to take Cal Poly team total under 62, and John's going to hate this one because Cal Riverside is just outstanding at bleeding clock. So when they played here against Hawaii, one thing Riverside did really well in that second half was take a shot, miss, get it back out to their point guard, and bleed another 20 seconds. So Cal Riverside has a freshman point guard, Barrington Hargress. This kid makes so many good decisions with the basketball. Like, this is a name that I think he's going to end up transferring to a bigger school at some point. Like, he is so smart with the ball. Riverside ranks 9th in getting shots with their possessions. They do not turn the ball over often at all. And Cal Poly is 0 for the Big West. They failed to break 62 in 6 straight home games. So I think Riverside just squeezes the life out of them here. On the other side of the coin, Hawaii team total over 77 against Long Beach. Aaron Gannott deserves some Coach of the Year votes in the Big West. He's not going to get them because Hawaii had that stretch where they were really struggling. But I thought this team was dead in the water after losing Jovan McClanahan and a couple other guys to injury. And they've managed to get off the canvas against everyone except the top 2 teams in the league. The Rainbow Warriors can shoot it well. Long Beach likes to push the tempo. Hawaii's team total over is cashed in 7 straight games. So I think team total over 77 really works for the Rainbow Warriors tonight. Portland State team total under 68.5 at Montana. The Vikings have just been terrible shooters away from the Stott Center. They failed to hit 68 in 5 of their past 7 away. And Montana is just a tough place to play. I've seen far too many teams go into Dahlberg Arena and just get crushed. Montana really knows what they're doing in Missoula. Portland State under 68.5. And then finally, I'm going to go with Maine minus 8.5 against New Jersey Tech. Maine has a huge edge on defense. NJIT just cannot shoot. And I think the Black Bears come out with a pretty comfortable win here.
Shout out to Lemoyne notable alum Tim DeKay, who starred in the 1996 adaptation of Danielle Steele's The Ring. So if you're interested in Tim DeKay there, shout out to Lemoyne. Not to be confused with Lemoyne in Memphis, which is an HBCU. So Lemoyne and Syracuse there. You're listening to the Godzilla Win Saturday Pick Show. Coming up next, bunch of baseball, talking tons of baseball. Don't turn that dial. Stay with us. We will be right back.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Welcome back to the Godzilla Win Saturday Pick Show. You're listening to Jack Fredericks, your host, here with my father, the Godzilla Truth, John Fredericks, Nate Perry, senior editor, senior contributor, Dan Angel, and Penguins beat writer, as well as Steelers fanatic and beat writer Mitch Rogers here with us. Glad to have everybody today. We're talking baseball. Next hour, pitchers and catchers report. Might as well start early with some MLB. Dad has been working in baseball since the NFL season. You think even in the Super Bowl show, he was like, well, just a couple thoughts on Josh Hader. So we got a whole segment for you, Dad, all baseball. But I'd like you to do two things, Dad, while we start here. First, tell us all about MyPillow and how people can get some of the most incredible deals at MyPillow. And then I want to work this in pretty much every week while the season is ongoing. So tell us a little bit about West Virginia baseball after you do the MyPillow read as well. You can give us an update about Joe and just West Virginia. Jeremy, we got a West Virginia alum, Mitch Rogers, in the house here. So we're just going to have this segment pretty much every week while the Mountaineers baseball season is going on, since Joe is a key member of the team.
Well, listen, they're 3-2. They opened on the road. Obviously, you can't play right now in Morgantown. Mitch knows this is pretty cold there. So they opened with a 4-game series in Stetson. None of these were conference games. Big 12 conference for West Virginia University opens on March 5th, I think. Brigham Young University coming in, so we're going to do that. But they open against Stetson, 2-2. Stetson much better than you think on paper. They're pretty good. They kind of hung around. They won 2 games with walk-offs, homers in the bottom of the inning. A good thing Joe was involved in either of those. But and then they won. They went to Charlotte yesterday. They got another 4-game series there. They beat Charlotte. I think it was 11-8. So they got a big win there. So they're 3-2 on this season. This is a team, I tell you what, they got great pitching. I mean, it's going to come around. And they also got the number 1 draft pick that's going in the Major League Baseball, J.J. Weatherholt. He's been hurt for a couple of games, but he is likely to go number 1 or number 2, getting a $12 million. So it's fun going to the games because they're packed with MLB scouts. And so that was kind of fun. So they got a doubleheader today at Charlotte, and hopefully they can win those 2, get back, get a winning record. But right now, 3-2. But look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, Joe came in on a Monday. The score was 3-2, bottom of the 5th inning. That was his collegiate debut. Comes in with a guy on first, nobody out, 3-2 game. He's a freshman. He was the only freshman pitcher so far this season to see action. Comes in with a guy on first base, first batter up, double play. Then he gets the next batter out. Long story short, 3 innings, 9 up, 9 down. And then in the top of the 8th, they brought him out for inning number 4. He got a little gassed. He hit a batter, then a walk on a 3-2 pitch that a lot of people thought was a strike. Trackman showed it. But then they took him out after that. But for 3 innings, 9 up, 9 down, his whip is like 0.67. And but I'm not going to lie to you. It was a very emotional moment for the family to see Coach Mazie walk out there with guys on base, put his left hand up, point to it, and see Joe run in there from the bullpen. It was a very emotional moment for the family.
That's awesome, and it's Mazie's last year too. So it's his,
Yeah, Joe's overcome a lot. I mean, he's 5'8". A lot of the big coaches passed him over. His dream was to play D1 Power 5 baseball. He wouldn't give it up. I remember one of his coaches said when he was playing travel ball, it only takes one. Somebody is going to see you and want you. You just got to keep going out there. And they did. Somebody in West Virginia saw him, and he was the only. So far, after 5 games, he was the only freshman to see action, and he was. I mean, you can't get a better debut than that. Mike, I think you've got that video up. WV did a quick video on him. Why don't we go to that? You got that, Mike? There we go. Nope. Oh, you had it a minute ago. Anyway, we'll try to get that up a little bit later. But he was absolutely awesome. So we'll see what happens. But to see him go out there and do that was exciting. I think he's got a really good season ahead of him.
Here we go.
There you go. Thanks for getting that up.
Yeah. Look,
big hand for Joe.
Look, he's his fastball really moves, so he can be tough up there on the mound. It's I mean, I've seen it a million times up in person, and it just the way it moves is really hard for lefties and righties kind of get a hold of. It takes a while for them to get used to it, and then he hits them with some of the off speed stuff. So he's really effective. Who are they playing this weekend?
Charlotte. They won last night. They have a 4-game series at the Charlotte 49ers. Charlotte hits. They're pretty good. They got a doubleheader today. So far, West Virginia 3-2 on the season. So we'll see what happens today. He's likely to get in today because it's a doubleheader on Saturday. So we're likely to see him today. But it's kind of fun now because even though we're not there, it's carried on what is it, ESPN Plus.
Yeah, you should do the.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. So last night, mom is sick. She's up in the room. But last night, I think the game started at 4:00. We go up and put the game on and watch it on the computer because obviously we're in a hotel, so we can't access the TV for ESPN Plus. But I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's not exciting to see the team play right there on TV. It's fun, So, and our network is in Pittsburgh and West Virginia is carrying the games on the radio starting on I think 3/7. So it's going to be a fun season. I'm definitely going to the Oklahoma. They're playing Oklahoma. I've never been to Norman. I'm going to go to that.
Man,
that's fun.
And what a cool season for your son to be on there. I mean, after last year, I mean that was literally the ultimate season for West Virginia baseball. And at West Virginia, that's where I cut my teeth when I started doing journalism too, is covering the baseball team. And they weren't anywhere near.
No way.
They weren't near. Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, I'm at the old stadium. Yeah, so we would just sit there. There's no one in the stands. To see the stands last season was amazing. And this year, I know they've been picked to be right in the middle of the conference, but with all these transfers, baseball has it too. I mean, the whole outfield is going to be different. A couple new pitchers, so who knows? And when you have studs like your son, and you have studs like maybe the number 1 or 2 draft pick in the ML draft, there's sky's the limit for them. So it's just going to come down to their starting pitching. But what a time! And it's Maisie's last year, so they want to go out with a bang. So this is exciting, and I'll be sure to tune in a lot more, knowing that we can watch your kid.
We want to welcome in a longtime listener to the show. Has been with us really since the beginning. One of our first listeners here, Starman from Florida. Calling in here. Starman, great to have you on the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man, great. I love the show. I look forward every Saturday. And of course, I listen to your dad all day during the week. John, it was good seeing you last week and meeting your wife, Ann, although it was briefly. I still owe you that beer. But, I went down to the Stetson. It's a good, nice stadium. It was a good game. And I'm looking forward to watching Joe. I'm not a subscriber to the ESPN Plus, but all games they said this weekend are on it, so I'm going to have to subscribe, I guess, and all the money I pay out between AT&T and everything else. But I just want to call in and comment. I look forward to the show. You guys do a good job as opposed to the other shows that are out there. But that's about it for me. I'll be looking forward to watching. I'm becoming a WVU fan, although I live in root for the Gators. In fact, I'm going to go to the Gators game today. They play Columbia. So anyway, great show.
Well, listen, Starman, thank you for thank you and also Tim Skillett, 2 of Joe's fans that came to DeLand and to watch Joe, and it was good to see you, Starman. It was good to see Tim Skillett as well, and you guys come all the way there to see his debut. I know that Joe appreciates it. We all do. You came out to see him. We had some tournament in Florida back when he was playing summer ball or something. You came out to see him then. So I just want to thank you, Starman, for being there and being able to share with our family and that. Thank you.
And as an 80s kid, the name Starman, is it from the pro wrestling Nintendo game, or is it David Bowie's song? I mean, either one is fine.
We'll have to ask him in the chat. He's already off the call. But we appreciate Starman. There's a couple guys that me and Nate talk about all the time because they've been with us since like literally the beginning. There's like maybe 5 or 6 of them.
Rich Paxton.
Sure. Rich is one of them. And Starman has been. He's been with us since the beginning. So we love seeing him in the chat. I always get sad if I don't see him pop up. Every week. So glad to hear from him. Glad he was able to make it to Stetson. That was beautiful down there. And look, we're not sponsored by ESPN or anything, but that ESPN Plus app is pretty solid. Like if you like college sports, they do a great job with that. You can pretty much find anything you need down there. And if you're like Dan and you gotta be grinding on Lemoyne at 6 a.m. Hawaii time or whatever. The only place I think you can probably get it is ESPN.
Actually, that's on NEC Front Row, but
yeah, well, there you go.
ESPN Plus is great at most small conferences.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. So if you want to watch those West Virginia games, go for it. Now, Dan, I want to get to you here because we want to do a quick segment. You've got a column on Godzilla Wins that is titled Model Talk, and what you do in that column, and everybody go to GodzillaWins.com and you can find all of Dan and Mitch's writing, Nate as well, and my dad. Actually, I'm the only one who I do most of the editing, so I don't do a lot of the writing anymore. But Dan, your newest column I want to talk about a little bit because we're in the MLB season, and you had a column up about you wrote about how to bet a baseball future, which if there's a couple strategies, and we'll let you talk about it. If you're dad, you just bet the Astros and hope for the best. So that his column would be about 4 words: take the Astros, hope they win. But if you're not as married to Houston as an organization, what are some strategies that people can use right around this time to bet the baseball futures?
Yeah. So one of the most obvious strategies is take a look at the early schedule. the lines are going to keep changing the deeper that we get into the season. And the way a team plays early in the season can really affect what their value is going to be the rest of the way. Like, one example really stands out in my mind, which I mentioned in the column. 2 years ago, the Yankees had one of the softest schedules in April and May. It was loaded with bad teams from the AL Central, and when they played in the division, it was against the Orioles before their good players got up to Baltimore. So the Yankees basically just fattened their record, while Toronto and Tampa Bay were beating up on each other or taking their lumps at the hands of the Astros, the Mariners, and other potential playoff teams. So what ended up happening was, even though the Yankees weren't favored to win the division at the start of the season, by midseason, the Yankees had built a 17-game lead, and there just wasn't anything the Blue Jays or the Rays could do about it. So if you took a look at this early on and saw that the Yankees would get out to that big lead, then you ended up getting plus money on a team that shouldn't have been plus money at that point. And I think that Tampa Bay's schedule could really work to their favor this year.
What are so one way we look at it are the scheduling, right? That's a big one. What are one or two other strategies that people can employ when they're looking at baseball futures?
So one thing that I really like to do is, if you're looking at these individual awards, pay attention to spring training, because this is where some of those lesser known players that are good can really break out. I mean, if you're looking at a guy who might be a rookie of the year candidate, if he's off to a good start in spring training, and see if his team is likely to bring him north when camp ends, or if he's likely to start the year in AAA. Because if he starts in AAA, that's really going to hurt your chances of actually having a rookie of the year ticket cash with him. So make sure that you're paying attention to spring stats and see, like, okay, what went into these at bats? How are they looking? Because, I mean, the stats overall don't mean much, but the way a player looks in these at bats, these pitches, really makes a big difference. So that's something for individual players. And also remember, don't fall in love too easily. Like, teams are guilty of this all the time. They fall in love with a player who looks really great in March, then gets into April, and it turns out that he was doing it all off guys who are stuck in the minors. So it's easy to talk yourself into somebody, but use the information that you've got to make informed decisions. Don't overrate a player. Don't underrate a player.
So don't fall in love too easily. Look at the stuff in spring training. I mean, one of the things, I used to go to a lot of spring training in Florida when I lived in Georgia, and it was always really fun to watch those players in spring training and how they looked. And you can see, especially with pitchers, like if you're looking for Cy Young stuff and things like that, you can see a lot in spring training when it comes to how a pitcher's form is. Because if a pitcher's going to compete for the Cy Young, they have to get off to a hot start. Like, they're not going to be in the Cy Young conversation if they have a rocky first 2 months and then turn it around. They maybe, but it's just very rare.
Unless you're Jake Arrieta and you just roid up for the last 3 months of the season.
Yeah, for real.
And send the Cubs to the World Series.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm a little bitter Pirates fan here. Sorry.
Hey, I don't care. I mean, I got no love for the Cubs. I don't care about
I've been to Pirates spring training. Bradenton's a fun place.
Yeah.
I've never been. I want to go. That's bucket list for sure.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
If anyone's
Actually, that was where I found one of my best finds ever. Wish sports betting had been legal then, because I saw Freddie Sanchez spring training at Bradenton, and that was the year he won the batting title.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like just watching how his swing looked, I thought, the Pirates are going to make room for this guy. This is somebody I want on my fantasy team. Grabbed him with the pick of the draft, slotted him at second base for the entire season. I mean, if sports betting had been a thing, I could have just thrown $1 on him to win the batting title, and I probably would have cashed like $3-4 grand off.
Well, but that's that gets you to the Pirates, which remember he got hurt. How long was he out, Mitch? Almost the whole season, right?
Yeah. The following year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this guy, the Pittsburgh. I'm going to be betting Pittsburgh early. I think this is going to be a shock team. They got off to a great start last year. I caught him early a lot, and kind of got me up big, and then it kind of went downhill after that. But they're going to be a shock team. I really like the Pirates early. You're going to get good prices on them, and I think last year I think they were 20-8 or something.
Yeah.
I can easily see that happen again. And every time I bet them, I'm getting a line. Tell you the other team I like early is the Reds. I don't know. I just got a feeling. Sometimes you get a feeling about teams, and you try to where am I going to get value? I think I'm going to get value on Cincinnati. I'm going to get value on the Reds. I mean, on the Pirates. I'm going to get value on the Royals, who I think is a lot better than anybody thinks they are. They got a good young team with a lot of speed. I like this team, and the other team is you're going to get no value on is the Cardinals. The best thing I did last season was I bet against the Cardinals religiously. Now, here's what nailed me last season. It's not going to happen again. I kept waiting for San Diego to get hot. It's like they got all these players, right? Eventually, they got to win like 8 out of 10, 9 in a row. And I kept trying to catch them. They'd win a game. I'd bet them the next game thinking, here it comes. And it never happened. So now they realize they can't buy players to win. So I'm going to be fading San Diego. I know that. And then, of course, you get to my team. I mean, good luck beating us. Okay?
Yeah, Josh.
I tell you what. Good luck beating us.
So
You guys are like plus 1,000 though. You're not the favorite.
To touch on here, in Cincinnati.
I got him in 8. I got him to win everything at 8-1.
So you mentioned Cincinnati.
I like 8.
Go ahead with Cincinnati.
So do not like that. That value is not going to long because the Reds' schedule in the early part of the year is really soft. They open with the Nationals. They get the White Sox pretty early. They get the Angels pretty early. So they're going to be playing some really easy teams. Cincinnati could get off to a very hot start. So I think you're on the right track with them taking the Reds, but that value is not going to last very long.
Yeah,
Dan,
right.
he brought up the Cardinals. What about the Cardinals to win this in that wide open Central? Is like a plus 180 the last time I looked, and I hate the Cardinals, but that seems like you may want to look at that.
I think the Pirates got a shot. I don't.
We need a pitcher. We need a pitcher.
I don't like the Cardinals.
You got
team.
one.
I mean,
The question is, are you going to bring him up, or is he going to start in Indianapolis?
Right.
So look,
Skeens is the real deal.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring a little bit more focus into our baseball talk because we got a lot I want to get to here. But Dad, we're talking futures here, and if you're in Virginia, there's no better way to take advantage of your future than with Rosie's Gaming Emporium.
Well, you know what? We're going. The good news is we're going to Virginia. I haven't been there in a couple months since the fall election, but we're going to Virginia. We got a Super Tuesday primary coming up. That's March 5th. We're going to be there starting that weekend. Ann's going with me there. First thing we're going to do first night we're going to Rosie's, and I think we're going to be in where are we going to be in the Fredericksburg area?
Ooh,
so
we're going to come visit
Rosie's. I know we're going there. I'm getting there on Sunday. I got to fly in. We got the Mega bus there, so we're going to be there. The first thing we're going to do is go to Rosie's. I love going to Rosie's because it's a different experience if you go to a casino. It's clean. First of all, it's bright, right? They got major lights on. You got upstairs. You got the OTB. You got the football and basketball. Got that all upstairs. The food is excellent, but you get the biggest payouts and the biggest jackpots. If you're in Virginia and you like to have fun, win money and have fun, you go to Rosie's. They have the biggest jackpots and the biggest payouts in the country. I say this every week because the General Assembly, when they allowed him in, negotiated the lowest takeout for government in any casino in America. So that's for you. You're going to get bigger jackpots and bigger payouts. They're a lot of fun. They're fun machines. And it's just a great place to go and have fun, no matter what you like to do. Win money, have fun. Go to rosiesgaming.com. It's my favorite place, rosiesgaming.com. And don't forget, we're going to be there in July when Colonial Downs come. The horses come in. This year, we're going to get Nate there. We're going to get Mitch there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go to rosiesgaming.com.
You're listening to the Godzilla Win Saturday Pick Show here, talking baseball all hour to the top of the hour here. Talked college basketball a little bit earlier. Now we're on to baseball. Got a couple variety items I want to discuss before we move on to this sort of, I don't know, I'm a teacher, so maybe it's an activity that I planned for everybody. So we'll see how that works.
Like a quiz?
Yeah.
Is this like a quiz?
Well, we'll see. No,
Pop quiz?
quizzes don't work, so the research suggests no quizzes. But there's other stuff that we can do that feels kind of like teacherly, I guess. But before we do that, I want to start, Nate, with some of this Oakland A's stadium drama. No home for the Oakland A's. They can't figure out where to play. They're trying to figure out how to get to Vegas. Nobody's sure that Vegas actually wants them there. They can't get a deal done with to stay in Oakland. Since you're out there in Reno and you kind of follow this stuff, just set us up. Tell us what's going on with the A's and how they managed to just continue to screw up everything.
I mean, it's like the perfect combination of like screwing things up, right? I mean, don't forget, like the Las Vegas Raiders move to Vegas was pretty fraught and kind of, came together pretty hastily at the last minute after basically being scrapped. So this is nothing new for trying to develop in Vegas. It's just sort of what happens. These casino owners love to dangle something and then sort of pull it back and say maybe not. And it's, more complicated to do business here because, it's more complicated than it used to be to do business in Vegas. You can't just throw a lot of money at a problem anymore. There are teachers unions and other things that are going to try and get in your way. But yeah, like this is a huge problem for them. They've known it's going to be a problem for a while. The lease is up at the end of this season and they have nowhere to play. I mean, the proposed site in Vegas is like 2028, and that's being generous, maybe. And that's if this deal goes through, which maybe it doesn't. It seems like they just kind of stalled on it. They are going to demolish the Trop soon, but that's about as far as they've gotten on sort of anything to make room for it. So that's going to be.
So are they stuck staying in Oakland? Nate,
that's the thing. They don't know. I mean, they've explored Salt Lake City, leasing a park there, leasing a park in Sacramento, sharing Oracle with the Giants, maybe reworking a extension with the Coliseum. They don't have a plan. There's nothing. There is no like fallback. Like they're just totally rootless at the moment.
I mean, what about the plan with the Giants? I remember when they were refurbishing Yankee Stadium, the Yankees played at Chase Stadium for two seasons. That was back in the Bobby Mercer days before you guys were around. They had like Bobby Mercer and players like that. But they played for 2 seasons at Chase Stadium back in the day when they were redoing Yankee Stadium. So why not just play in the Giants Stadium?
I mean, I think it's the difference between like, letting your buddy crash with you for a couple of weeks while his kitchen's getting remodeled versus like letting your buddy crash with you that just got evicted from his apartment and has no profit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they've been like kind of lingering there for 20 years. Like Oakland has been doing this. I mean, the A's have been doing this to Oakland for 20 years. Like they've been trying to get out of there, and they haven't done any renovations, any upkeep to the stadium. So they've just let it kind of crumble. And now to come back to the city and be like, can we play here for 3 years? Like,
Right.
They've just screwed it up.
We just stay here indefinitely because we don't make plans. Like that's not something that the Giants are doing.
Yeah, and to continue that analogy, I don't think it would be if I'm hosting my buddy who just got evicted. He's crashed on the couch and he's telling me on the couch, scratching his head. He's like, I got a couple opportunities in Las Vegas that I might pursue. I just need a couple more things to align, and I can get out to Vegas and really maybe turn my life around. I don't think that would inspire confidence for me to keep him on the couch there. So I think you're probably right. I mean, 1 year in that stadium could turn into like 5 pretty quickly, and all of a sudden you're sharing a stadium with like the worst run organization outside of course Billy Beane and what he does with putting a team together with nothing. But yeah, I mean it's difficult to build a stadium and to move to Las Vegas. Salt Lake City would be kind of interesting, I think. I think the market is okay there for like a baseball team. The weather's great at that time of year. I think Vegas would be fine as well. Of course, they want to stay in the West. Sacramento would be a nightmare. If anyone has ever made that drive from San Francisco to Sacramento, it's like
horrible.
There are times when it feels it's like a 19-lane highway, and sometimes it feels like 2 lanes. That's how much traffic's there. I can't imagine being like, I'm an Oakland fan. Let me drive 2 hours.
What about Reno? What about that minor league stadium there in Reno?
Oh, we could host them at the minor league stadium, sure.
Yeah. That's about what they can fill. So
it'd be perfect.
Yeah, that'd be a great spot for them. I think Reno would be ripe for the A's. That would be an absolutely perfect move. Is like we couldn't get into Vegas, but we're in Reno now for like 4 or 5 years. And
And just think about how much money we saved, because like, don't forget, like, all of this comes down to the A's don't want to spend money. They don't want to spend money on payroll. They don't want to spend money on this. They don't want to spend money on a stadium. Like, you have to spend money at some point. Like, you just have to.
Well, but look, they just gotta find a transition. Remember the Titans, my Titans went through this when they were the Oilers. They wanted to go to Nashville, but took 2 years or whatever. Bud Adams, when it was pissed off about the Astrodome and whatever was going on there, so he took them to Memphis. They played in the Liberty Bowl for 2 seasons, had no fan base.
They only played there
I
for one
remember
season.
going to
Actually.
one game.
yeah, they were only there.
I remember
They were there for one season.
whatever it was. I went to one game. They played the Steelers. It was like a Steelers home game. They were like
that was
five
the reason
tight-
that they only
five
played
Oilers
1 year in
fans.
Memphis, because Bud
Right,
Adams,
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Bud
it
Adams
was not a
wanted to
plan.
play the
It was
second year.
transition. It was a transition to get to Nashville. They had nowhere to go, so they leased the Liberty Bowl. That's the only point that I'm making. Is like sometimes this has happened where you got to find a transitionary stadium until. But the thing is, Bud Adams had a deal in Nashville. This stadium.
Yeah, that analogy doesn't
Time
work
to
because Bud Adams was always going to move to Nashville. He had a contract and they were going to build a stadium.
Right.
They just needed a year.
That's what I'm saying.
The A's don't have a contract anywhere.
Right.
They're just a listless organization trying to figure out what to do when their lease is up at like the oldest stadium in the history of the world. That is no fun to watch a game at. It's not really a lot of fun to watch a game at the Liberty Bowl unless it's cooled off, because that thing is complete concrete. So if you're there in August, it's really hot. Now, I shout out to Memphis. I love the Liberty Bowl. I go watch Tigers games there sometimes, but it's not for the faint of heart. Memphis in August is rough. So I can't imagine. Like, September and August in Memphis is really hot. Can't imagine playing football there. A little bit cooler in Nashville. It's just really humid off the river right
Guys,
there.
real quick, with Oakland, what happens with when you have like the lowest payroll, under $60 million? What happens with the TV money? If you're floating around, like, do you still get the money from the NBC affiliate in San Francisco, or like, so how does that work when you're done? Like,
Are the A's on
you don't
television?
Will Peter Angelos just give more of his money? I
don't know. Yeah.
Well, but
right now they're on regional
TV.
Yeah.
The economic issue with the A's is they get, like, all teams get a percentage of other teams' money, right? I can't articulate the exact way it works, but I remember reading an article one time that the A's are actually profitable, not because of their fan base, but because they have a very low payroll and they get this money from the other teams, a percentage of it. So basically they get this income coming in. And so if they keep their payroll under a certain amount, they're going to just make money and be profitable. Well, that's just no way to run a franchise. It's a good way to run a business, but not a franchise, because it's not fair to the fan base there. And so, I don't know what the A's are going to do.
I wasn't aware the A's were on television. I thought that you had to go to Reddit and just watch like a fan filming the game from his phone. I didn't think you could actually go to. I didn't think they were on cable. I thought it was just like some guy with his phone on the third baseline being like, "Strike 2."
It's just a court reporter drawing pictures.
Every once in a while, he just flashes down to the sports sheet in his lap.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Listen, you're listening to the Godzilla Win Saturday Pick Show. We're talking baseball here. A's mess. We're gonna do something a little different now. I'm trying a new segment. We'll see how this works. I kind of came up with this while I was at the gym, where all my great ideas kind of come to me in my moment of zen there while I'm working through tendonitis or whatever the heck's going on with my elbow these days. So I'll explain how to do this, and then we'll run through it. And I budgeted 30 minutes for this, but if it's like the stupidest thing in the world, we'll just cut it after like 15 and move on to something else. Just sort of trying something new. So basically what this is it's an MVP futures draft. So what we're doing is we're going to draft our what we think are our best values for the MVP future. We'll start with the American League. We'll do 3 rounds of the American League, 3 rounds of the National League. And you're not just drafting who you think will win the MVP. Of course, if they don't win the MVP, you would lose this contest. But you're drafting who you also think has the best value. So I mean, whoever wins the MVP has the best value. But maybe you don't want to start with the plus 300 guy because for many reasons, what that might be. So there's a lot of strategies you can take in place here. We're going to start with sort of a snake draft. We'll use the DraftKings odds, and I'll kind of keep track of this. I'll write everything down. We'll update this throughout the season. And the way I did this, I gave Dad the first pick because I had to. I knew he would need it. So we got the American League 3 rounds. We'll do Snake, John, Dan, Mitch, Nate, me, and then me, Nate, Mitch, Dan, John. And we'll kind of go that way. So you don't have to do a lot of narrative, or you can do a little bit. We'll just keep it loose, see what happens. If we don't get to the National League, fine. If we do, fine. If after 2 rounds we think this is dumb, then we'll move on to something else we can talk about. But I think it could be fun. So, Dad, we'll give you the first pick. This is your first pick for your best futures pick, and I'll write down your draft as soon as you draft it.
Yordan Alvarez, Houston Astros MVP.
Yordan, I believe, is like plus 800, like 8-1. So he's not the favorite, but he is like number 3 on the list. So I think if anyone has ever listened to Dad, I could have told you he was going to take that pick. That's why I gave him the pick. I didn't want anyone else to take Yordan and him to get mad. So I figured let him take Yordan.
I'd have been pissed.
So all right, so Yordan's off the board there. That's Dad's first pick, best bet for the American League MVP future. Dan, you got the floor now.
All right. I mean, given that he plays in New York, was the last non-Ohtani player to win the award, I mean, I got to go with Aaron Judge. If he stays healthy, then he's got a really good shot to win this.
Do me a favor, if you know it, tell me the odds of these guys as well, because I only got one screen up.
He's plus 550.
Plus
I'm
what?
seeing
Plus 550.
plus 550 for Judge.
All right, plus 550. There you go. So New York, Aaron Judge, New York. All right, Mitch, you're up next. Yordan and Judge are off the board.
All right, I'm gonna get some value with my first pick. I got him at plus 1100. Julio Rodriguez with the Mariners. I don't know. Last night I was doing some research for this, and I put on a YouTube video about MVPs, and his was the first highlight reel that showed up, and I was like, at 1 a.m, very impressed with you and getting good value. So I'm going to go with the Mariners pick right there.
All right, there we go. Mariners. Look, last year I was all in on the Mariners. I said they were going to win the World Series. I was trying to get some sweet value on them, and that didn't work out. But always love the Mariners. Great organization up there in Seattle. So Nate, with your first pick, who are you taking here?
Damn it, that was my pick.
Yes, that makes me feel so good.
The only MVP bet I've made is Julio Rodriguez. So I guess if that's not available, I mean, Juan Soto, I think is probably just like the obvious choice for me at this point. I mean, he's going to be great in New York. He's going to put up numbers that should be close to what Judge is putting up, and he's a fresh new face. Media love him. I think Soto.
Okay, Juan Soto. So
and he's plus 600.
Yeah,
he's
that's
right.
Plus 600. I know he's right behind Judge there. So look, I'm looking at a couple guys here that I could take, and I kind of like Kyle Tucker because I can ruin that for Dad. But because it's a snake draft, I get 2. So I get 2 in a row. So I'll start with Seager plus 1,000, just because you know what I mean. He had an amazing. I mean, he's going to be on everybody's mind with the way he played in the postseason. He's an incredible player anyway. Pretty good value, I guess. Although I don't know if he's going to win. So I'll take Corey Seager then at plus 1,000 or plus not 1,000 plus 10-1 basically. Plus 1,000, and then I'll grab Kyle Tucker at plus 1,700. So I'll take an Astro there just for fun. Tucker's a good player, and one of these years he's really going to break out as probably the best hitter in the league. So, all right, Nate, we're in the snake here, so you're up next. So Yordan, Aaron Judge, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, and Corey Seager, Kyle Tucker all off the board. So this is where things start to get interesting because you find a lot of value here down low. Hard to know if any of these guys will win, but just like Dan said earlier, Freddie Sanchez won that batting title and he came out of nowhere. So this is where you might be able to get some real value. Who you got?
I mean, I think at this point I'll go to the last guy that had a pretty good season that was kind of on the cusp in the voting. So I'll take Adley Rutschman. He was fourth in AL MVP voting last year. Get a little bump there.
All right.
Okay, turnabout's fair play. You just took mine. Thanks, Nate.
I kind of figured that might happen. All right, so Nate takes Rutschman. Mitch?
You know what? When I see Mike Trout plus 2,000, Mike Trout, there's my second pick. No,
Mike Trout plus 2,000. Okay, Mike Trout's off the board.
go.
Dan, and then Dad, you get 2 in a row.
All right. Well, I mean, if the Blue Jays are going to be contenders, then somebody out of that lineup has got to do most of the work. And I'm going to go with Vlad Guerrero Jr. at plus 2,200.
I almost took Vlad with the second because I knew someone would take him, and I kind of wanted him. Just watching that guy play, all he does is mash. Jays just hit so many home runs. Great lineup, but they play in a tough division, so
They do.
hard to know. All right, Dad, you're up next. You end round 2 and then you start round 3, so you got 2 picks back to back.
Ryan Mountcastle, Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to go with him. I think he's going to have a breakout season. That's a powerful lineup they've got. He's got hitters in front of him, hitters behind him. He's a tough out, this kid. He's got now, a couple years of major league experience under his belt. Orioles have a very good team. They're going to score a lot of runs. So I like Ryan Mountcastle. Don't know what the odds are, but I'm going to go with him as my number 2 pick after Alvarez. And then I'm kind of with I'm with Dan here on Toronto, because eventually you look at this team and you say, when the hell are they going to win something? Right? On paper, they always look great. I don't like betting them because you don't win on paper. You got to win on the field. The team doesn't really have any problems. There's no locker room issues. They just don't win. But I'm going to go with Bo Bichette. I'm going to take a shot here.
Bo Bichette,
I think one of these guys on Toronto is going to have a breakout season. And Bo Bichette, he's always kind of in the middle of the pack. He hovers around 300, hits about 25 homers or so. Tough at guys on base. I'm going to take a shot with Bo Bichette. So I'm going with Alvarez, Mountcastle, and Bichette.
Love it. All right, Dan. Last round in the American League, then we'll move to the National League here.
Okay, so I don't love this mainly because I think he's going to get overlooked because it's Kansas City. But if the Royals end up winning the AL Central, then Bobby Witt Jr. is probably going to have a pretty good season. So plus 1,800, there's some value there.
Nate's shaking his head. Nate, was that one of yours on the board?
Yeah, that was one that I was wanting to do.
Well, you got 2 more picks, Mitch, or you got one more place until you can wow us with another sleeper. Mitch, what do you got?
Did anybody take the American League reigning Rookie of the Year yet? Gunnar Henderson from the Orioles.
I thought about him.
Let's go to Baltimore, to the Inner Harbor. I need some crab cakes.
Yeah. Plus, he's like 15 to 1. So
that's
you
a good
get,
one.
you get good value, but he's also, some of these guys are a little bit.
The Orioles just have so much talent in that lineup.
It's crazy.
I mean, if you're thinking
when
about
when you suck for 3 years and commit to it, you're going to get a lot of good picks out of it. So,
really, a Pirates fan over here? Does that happen?
Well,
I've never seen it.
I'm an Ottawa Senators fan, so I'm wondering the same thing.
All right, we're in the same.
All right.
At least we have Tim Stutzel.
Nate, we got Nate and then me, and then we'll go to the National League here.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm looking at it and it's like get a guy that's won it before. Jose Ramirez is 25 to 1. I mean, I don't know. I'm just running out of ideas at this point.
Great value here.
Yeah, there you go. So Jose Ramirez, 25 to 1. I mean, he can win it, right? You never know.
I mean, he's won it 3 times?
Right. Yeah. I mean, okay, and 25 to 1, great odds. So okay, Jose Ramirez. Yeah, when we're at the bottom of the barrel now, can be kind of tough, but these are your guys. So I'm gonna go with. I was looking. Let's see who's not on the board here. Oh man, it's between Devers and Correa. Although I don't really feel like Correa is gonna do anything for me. So I guess I'll go with Rafael Devers. I mean, he's. I don't know. I don't love that, but I'll just take Devers. That's fine. So Rafael Devers will be my last pick in the American League. Now, Dad, before we go to the National League, and I'm writing these down, so we'll kind of update this as things go on, and I'll try to think of ways to make this fun, or we'll never talk about it again. So we'll see. But Dad, before we get to the National League, before we draft that. Let's talk a little bit about Healthy Cell. We talked a little bit about their REM sleep products early on in the show here. I love to talk about the joint health and mobility. I take that every day. Helps with my joints really the reason I take it. And Dad, I'll let you talk about it in a minute too, because I know you swear by it. I mean, I don't like taking the acetaminophen all the time. It's bad for your liver. And what I love about the joint health is it does help with all of my joints that at times can be, for me, really sort of aggravating. The older I get and the more, I force myself to go to the gym and lift all the time. I deal with a lot of tendonitis in the elbow and whatever. And joint health and mobility at Healthy Cell really helps with that. Helps me live kind of a little bit of a healthier lifestyle there. And I'm not relying so much on the anti-inflammatories, which can be, they can be useful, but they're a Band-Aid. They don't actually fix the problem. And what I love about Healthy Cells, they're actually trying to fix this problem if you have joint issues. So you go to healthycell.com, put in the promo code Godzilla. I think, Dad, it's still 20% off, but I could be wrong. I think we're
20% off.
20% off.
20% off.
So Godzilla Wins Godzilla is the promo, not Godzilla Wins. Healthycell.com. They got all sorts of great products, but I love talking about joint health and mobility because it just helps me live a little bit more of an active lifestyle and get rid of some of those tendons. Nate, I know Nate loves it too. Nate's a big rock climber. If you notice, he grew out his hair, so he's now got the rock climber persona. Goes to the
season
gym all the time. Yeah. And I know he also deals with some joint health issues, and
that is true,
and can benefit from joint health and mobility there as he's fallen off the wall or whatever it is. I don't know what it is you guys do in there, like climb the monkey
no falling.
Yeah, I've never been in a rock climbing gym. I just go to like the gym, like the one with weights where you pick stuff up and you put it down, and that's just normally my relationship with the gym. I don't know what a rock climbing gym is. I suppose you climb a wall and then I
fall a lot.
You fall. I'm sure it's fun. Okay, so let's move on to our draft here. National League MVP. Now we're still in the snake, which means I get the first pick. Thank God. Let me pull up my National League guys here.
Hey, what are you guys going to talk about the disaster going on with the Mets? That was on the run sheet.
We got maybe 5 minutes at the end of the show. We run through this draft. We'll be able to do it. No problem. I know you love dumping on the Mets, so I don't want to rob you of that.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that segment. So I'm going to go fast so we have time so we can crap on the Mets.
We got plenty of time. Look, first bet. I mean, I'm just going to take Ohtani. I think. I don't know why he's plus 650. I know Acuna's so good or whatever. Mookie Betts as well, but I'm just going to take Shohei Ohtani at plus 650. It just feels like the most obvious draft pick here. So I'm going to go with Ohtani. Nate, go ahead.
I'll go with Acuna. I mean, all he is the reigning NL MVP. After that 40-70 season. So I'll take Acuna if you're going to give him to me.
Okay, Acuna, Mitch.
I think Philly's going to have a good season this year, and if they're going to have a good season, that's going to be on the bat of Bryce Harper. So I'm going to take Bryce over. I wanted to go Betts, but there's just so much firepower there. They can't all have great seasons, or they can't all be MVP. So let's go with Bryce.
Bryce Harper. Dan, first pick.
All right. Well, before I get to that, I can tell you exactly why Ohtani is down there. It's because he can't pitch this year.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You're only betting on his hitting and defense because he's got gone through Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, well, I'll still take his hitting, man. I mean, the dude.
Yeah, he's still got plenty of value. So yeah, if he's still on the board here, then yeah, give me Mookie Betts.
Okay, Mookie Betts at plus 650. Dad, your first pick. You get two in a row, so you can rattle off two.
Pete Alonso, Mets.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Even though we're going to dish on the Mets.
What? You're such a troll. You're just troll.
I don't think the Astros have gotten this guy out in 5 years with guys on base. It's one of the best hitters ever.
He's so douchey, though.
In 9 other games against teams not named the Astros.
I don't know.
The way he acts in the All-Star game.
I feel this.
I hate
I got two long shots here.
You took the Mets.
I just feel it. Alonso, we're going to jump on the Mets. I'm waiting for that segment. But because I can't stand the Mets ever since, what is it, 86 when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
should have beaten them. And I don't.
If you want to dump on
We're
them, guys,
not going to
quick
go
here.
there and get me started.
What you?
I hate the Mets.
What you?
Going with Pete Alonso, and my second pick. Get this, guys.
Howard Johnson,
Long shot.
Who?
Ojo from 1990.
Wow.
I'm going with Yelich on Milwaukee.
Oh my God.
Yelich on Milwaukee.
All right.
What happened to him? This guy's he was one of the best hitters in the major leagues. All of a sudden, he went down. These guys figure it out, right? Milwaukee's got a good team. I think they had a shot to win the Central. I think Yelich has this unbelievable comeback, and he's MVP of the National.
I can't even find his
Christian
odds. I'll have to
No, he's not even.
Yelich is 80-1 plus 8,000.
80-1, baby.
I got him at plus
You bet
$5,000
you
here.
bet $100. You
Hey, I got a
win
better
$8,000.
Yeah, I'm
Dan,
seeing
go ahead.
plus 5,000 for Yelich. He's not that far down the list.
I see on DK is 8.
All right. Well, go ahead, Dan.
All right.
Am I done? I got my two, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, if another favorite's still on the board for me,
Right.
then yeah, give me Tatis.
Fernando Tatis. All right. Yeah. Easy one there. Since Dad's drinking the Kool-Aid on Christian Yelich. All right. Mitch, go ahead.
I know I can't say all the Dodgers and then Freddie Freeman sitting there. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go Nolan Arenado.
All right.
I think that's a good pick.
Back to me.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
I
4,000
thought about him there,
action.
but thought it was too early. Well done.
Yeah. I just think now we're in the muck, right? Like the,
Yeah.
A little,
Well, yeah.
still.
Dad drug us into the muck, so now we're done there.
I just couldn't ignore Tatis there.
Yeah, you can't.
I can't believe you should have taken Lindor also, John. You should have just done them both.
Nate,
I gotta pick a Lindor. I can't stand him. Look, you guys are
I'll
just
take
jealous.
Lindor then.
You
I'll
guys
take
are jealous.
Lindor.
Move
You
on
know
to
that
Nate. Move
I
on to
got
Nate.
two of the best picks
Yeah.
here. Two of the sleeper picks, Alonso and Yelich. And you guys are just jealous. You didn't think of that before I did.
Yeah,
I get it.
that's
I get
true.
the millennial thing.
No.
Right? You're very jealous. I get it.
No.
I still love you guys, but I always
John,
look.
there's a lot of thoughts I've got on your picks, and jealousy is not one of them.
yeah. Look,
I'm Generation X.
As
yeah. Look,
in the words of Napoleon Bonaparte, if you got 100 lions led by a dog, you got 101 dogs. If you got 100 dogs led by a lion, you got 101 lions. I'm going with Napoleon Bonaparte. I'm a lion.
How did Lions work out for him at Waterloo?
Napoleon's plus 20,000.
John Fredericks leading from the front.
Go with the general.
I think Napoleon's got a better shot to win the MVP than Yelich.
probably. Okay, so I'm gonna take Matt Olson because he's actually good. So I'll go with that for my second pick, and then I'm gonna go a little bit further down. Well, not that far down. I'm just gonna go with Machado. You never know with that guy. I mean, he's hurt a lot, but I like the value there. So I'll take Machado. Those are my three now. Nate, go ahead. I know you have Lindor, so he got.
I'll take Corbin Carroll. He impressed me a lot last season.
You want to get a photo?
Corbin
You want to
Carroll.
get a photo?
Mitch.
Come on.
All right, I'm gonna give even better odds than John did. I'm going with shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, O'Neal Cruz. I think he's plus 10,000. I don't know. I can't. It's different everywhere. But man, he plays the whole season. He's going to put up some numbers. And if the Pirates can do anything, and you vote on the most valuable player, like if they lost him and they don't win, I think we have something going on here. Let's go.
O'Neal Cruz, baby. Dan, last pick.
All right. Well, I mean, if the Cardinals bounce back as they should, I mean, Arenado's one of the possibilities. Paul Goldschmidt's the other. So, yeah, give me
Right.
Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt. And Dad, since we need time to talk about the Mets, give us your last pick here.
Last pick in the National League's got a lot of good hitters, and of course it's tough to pick a pitcher because they always end up winning the Cy Young, unless you're Steve Carlton with the 72 Phillies or something. So I'm going to go. I think Jack picked a couple good ones here. Somebody did somebody pick Harper?
Yeah. So
Yes.
Trey Turner is on the board. Austin Riley, Contreras, Michael Harris, Ellie De La Cruz, Bogarts. kind of your guys. You can take Turner.
I'm gonna go with Turner.
All right.
Trey Turner. So I'll go with him as my third pick. But it doesn't matter because Yelich is coming.
You don't even need a third. You can just vacate your third pick because you already got it with Yelich.
But I'll go with Turner.
What's the point in throwing money at it?
Yeah, right.
Don't waste
80
it.
to 1.
Yelich is coming. I'm telling you guys, I've been following baseball since I'm 8 years old, man. I'm 66. These guys that are good hitters, they got a couple down years. All of a sudden, they find it. They have this one breakout season. That's going to be Christian Yelich.
Dan, the worst thing.
Christian Yelich tears ACL in spring game.
Yeah, Dan, the worst thing for us will be Christian Yelich.
I know.
Like, just has the hottest April and May. And
I know. Like, all of us are
Sitting
going to be
there,
actively
just-
rooting against Milwaukee now.
Yeah.
It's going to be horrible. He's going to win like April Player of the Month, and we're just all going to be like, forget it. I'm not coming on the show.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely what's
It'll
going to
just
happen.
be John, Mitch, and Christian Yelich doing the show on Saturday.
John goes out to the Park or whatever they're calling it this week.
All right, Dad, you got 6 minutes. Tell us why the Mets suck.
No, I want you guys to tell me why they suck. That's why I was waiting for this segment. I don't want to do it till the end. I want you guys to tell me why you think the Mets season is over now. What is your analysis?
I think the Mets season's over because they've said they're rebuilding, and you've seen what they've done in free agency after having the most disappointing year ever last year. They're waiting. There's a ton of free agents coming out next year. I think they're waiting on that, right? I mean, that's my 2 cents. It's just when you look at what they've done in free agency, they haven't done enough to win now.
Yeah, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, like, the Mets are finding out the hard way that just having money isn't enough. I mean, it took a while before that worked for the Yankees, and now the Mets are learning that lesson. I think that they'll probably be much more active in free agency at the end of this year, and they'll set themselves up for more of a run moving forward. But yeah, they're probably just not going to achieve anything this year.
So happy.
Nate, we'll go with you, then we'll end with that here.
I mean, yeah, they're just like a doomed franchise, right? It's like, even when they get some kind of pieces in place, the pitcher that just got injured with the shoulder strain that's going to be out for the beginning of the season. Kodai Senga. So, they're just always doing this, and both of Dan and Mitch are probably right. This isn't the season, maybe next season. I mean, they're not going to stop spending money, but like the idea that they're just going to suddenly be competitive is probably not it.
All right, Dad, you got 4 minutes. You're from the tri-state area. One of the national pastimes in the tri-state area is dumping on the Mets. I'll give you 4 minutes.
The best day in baseball is when the Astros win, the Yankees lose, the Mets lose, and Texas loses. That is like the coup de grace, the quadruple crown of baseball for me. Those are days that I just celebrate the whole day when all four of this happens. The Mets last year, their payroll was $450 million. I mean, how is it even possible to spend $450 million and you can't even make the expanded wild card where, like, who made it in there? The Dolphins or what do they call the Marlins?
It was the Diamondbacks, and they won the pennant.
Whatever it was, the Dolphins win it or something. I mean, they can't even make the playoffs. Whatever their name is, the Marlins. What an absolute catastrophe they had last season. Buck Showalter, go away. The whole thing was such a joke. Steve Cohen is like, I'm just going to buy Correa, give him like $8 bajillion. Oh, we can't sign him because he's got a steel in his leg. I mean, the whole thing was such a clown show. And look, the Mets and the Yankees, all they want to do now that the Dodgers are doing it, they just want to spend the money, right? So they're turning baseball into, hey, I got the most money I can win. Hey, it doesn't work. Didn't work for the Yankees. They didn't make the playoffs either. Didn't work for the Mets. They didn't make the playoffs. Dodgers get swept by Arizona. I mean, this is what makes baseball the best team sport ever beyond anything, because you can buy these good players. You can pay them. You can throw them in a clubhouse. If you don't have the camaraderie, if you don't have the leadership, if you don't have the clubhouse genre going, guys are now playing together, you don't win. You can't have 9 individual guys out there wondering, when they're going to get their check that month. That's what the Yankees and Mets are. That's what the Dodgers are going to be. That's why I'm not going to pick them to win the World Series either. You can't compile all these great teams. You got to, if you look at a baseball schedule, what do you got? You got 162 games. You got about 40 games in spring training. That's 200. If you go to the playoffs, add 5 or 6, you got 205, 6 games together. Football's got 18, 20 games. You got 100, 200 games. There's got to be a clubhouse that works. That's why I love a lot of these teams that they don't have a lot of money, but they still got kids that want to play baseball for the love of the game, not because Steve Cohen, hedge fund, gangster bankster, didn't create anything, didn't make anything, didn't invent anything, gets all this money to buy players. Screw you, Cohen. Screw your money. Screw Wall Street. Screw you. Hey, I hope the Mets don't make the playoffs again or the Yankees. There's a team sport. I love the teams with players that love to play the game. Pirates, Royals, Orioles. These are Astros. These guys love playing the game. They love each other. They're going to be the winners, not the Dodgers, not the Mets, not the Yankees.
Christian Yelich, Napoleon Bonaparte, and players who love to play the game. Now, that's the show.
Have a nice
This
All about the
week.
little guys.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for listening to the show. Up next is the War Room.
That was surreal.